Hello, ladies and gentlemen, I am PANCZASU. And welcome to First Stance Guide for the Allayi, a race that has been added in the recently released Shifters expansion for obviously Endless Legend. Now, those guys will get a full-on playthrough from me in a few days, hopefully. However, I'm not willing to announce the start date of this guide just yet. For this time, however, I will just focus obviously on the start game as I always have. Now, the one thing that is a little bit tricky is the fact that I'll need to try and explain the shifters a little bit and its mechanics without going in too deep because I want this guide to be fairly bite-sized. So there will be some things I might not cover about the expansion itself, as I'll mostly and almost entirely in fact focus on the early game of the Allayi. I'll just mention that the Allayi are a fairly interesting faction in the fact that they are supposed to be played as a tall empire. If we have a quick look-see at them, they have the We Chosen Few trait, which means that it nukes the expansion disapproval, meaning that once they settle their second city, that's minus 25 expansion disapproval, a huge amount. Third city, that's minus 50, so unless you do something, all of your cities will be in rebellion by the point when you have a third city. Sounds bad, but I know how to counter this pretty easily in fact. So there is that thing, and in general, you also have a very limited access to a very limited resource, that resource being the pearls, something that has been added in this very expansion, and the Allayi are focused very heavily on pearls. They use them for almost everything, and they need those. So even if you somehow were able to create a wide empire, you wouldn't be able to use, to make it very efficient because you wouldn't be able to use as many pearls perhaps. However, when it comes to how I play them, well, you know me, I like fast expanding and I like being fairly wide, so in my opinion, in order to win an Allayi game, you need to have at the very least 5 cities. 5 cities will get you to a stage where you are competitive against any other empire, because you have very efficient things like, for example, your borough streets give you +2 Fitzy. And I do mean Fitzy, so +2 to everything, which is very, very nice indeed. You also have a very easy and very powerful quest line. So in general, you are a pretty good faction, but you need to get going pretty quickly as well. You need to have 3 cities as quickly as possible, 4th city by the beginning of mid-game, and 5th city hopefully not too long afterwards. And then you're good. If you don't have that, you're dead. You're not the cultists, you cannot delay on your city production at all. So, with that in mind, let's think about what we do when we settle. Now, the Allayi have a few things that they need in order to be able to win, in order to deal with their We Chosen Few traits. So, when we talk about We Chosen Few, let's talk about 2 things. 1 is the growth, 2 is the expansion disapproval. First, let's focus on the growth actually. So the growth means that you have less population in your cities because it takes twice as much food to grow your population. So what it means is that you more heavily rely on the population you can get from minor faction villages. And the thing about your starting region is that in your starting region you always have exactly 1 minor faction village. In this case, it's the Galeter's village right there. Which is of course problematic for you because you do want to have as many as possible, especially since one of the techs you can unlock through pearls is this one, which gives you +1 population for each pacified village. So you preferably want to settle in a region where there are 3 minor faction villages. Doing so will in fact allow you to have cities that have a pretty decent amount of population in them. And that's very important for you, obviously. Now, the second part of We Chosen Few is, of course, the disapproval thing, which sounds horrible in theory, but when you think about it, it's not that bad. Because, have a quick look-see. First of all, the sewer system, that's +20 approval. Next, any kind of anomaly. Let's see, do we have an anomaly like this discarded so far? It doesn't look like we do, amusingly enough, when I'm checking them. Ah, no, we do! Hot Prairie, Spy Rock Peel, there we go. So this one gives you +10 approval. So approval from this anomaly, plus approval from the sewer system, that's 30 approval. 30 approval and minus 50 approval for expansion disapproval, that will just lower your approval from 60 to 40, that's still content. So you just need this technology and 1 positive approval anomaly, and you're good. And you're not unhappy or at strike. So it's really not as hard to have decent approval as Allayi as some people make it out to be. So you need to take that into consideration. Additionally, before I move the cellar, there's another thing I really need to stress out on. I needed to get access to as soon as you do the very first part of your first faction quest is the Skiffin. The Skiffin has an ability, one with Auriga, which in turn gives it ability called Aspirate. Aspirate lets a Skiffin mine resources, even in regions that you don't control. So I can put a Skiffin here, and he'll give me a decent amount of spices per turn. But it gets better. If I do have a city in a region where the spices exist, he will also give my city plus 10 happiness. So you can also use that in a situation where you don't have other sources of happiness, for example, from anomalies. So with that in mind, where do I want to settle first? I don't want to settle in the Mastarian region. It, first of all, has pretty poor fitzy. I mean, there's one anomaly that I can see right now. I don't think I'm missing any. No, I'm not. It only has one manufacturing. It does have a river, but I don't care. Like, this is probably around the best fitzy output I can get in here. It's rubbish. It doesn't get me anything. No matter the combination of things I do, I will not get things quickly enough. Basically, when you want your city to grow population in 2 turns, you're looking for 14 food, 15 if we include the food that you lose from your city being placed. Or if you have population working on it, you can obviously have 4 less. And also you can put in your hero who has food boost 2, I mean 1, so you can also add yourself extra food from that guy, which is sometimes good. This guy is a pretty rubbish governor, in my honest opinion, so you don't want to use him as governor, but when you settle your first city, it's an acceptable choice. So with all that in mind, looking at what I have discussed so far, I am tempted to go either to this region up to the north, because it has access to glass steel, so I can mine the glass steel and simultaneously give myself approval from that. Problem is, it has a rubbish fitzy. If you have a look-see over here, that's absolutely horrible, and it looks like it's a small region with possibly only one manufacturing village. It's boss who are pretty good for the ally, but it's still not something that I want to go to. So instead, how about this region? This region has pretty good fitzy output. I mean 13, 13, 2, 2, 10, that's good. And additionally, it does have resources that I can mine, and it has at the very least one manufacturing village, which obviously we know is the minimum, but I like this resource region a lot. So I'm gonna go ahead and merge those 2 armies, so I pay less for them. I should have discarded those ruins, I didn't because I'm a dummy. Also, it doesn't really matter since I'm not gonna continue this playthrough, I'm just trying to show you where to expand to, so it's okay. Just remember to explore the ruins when you play for yourself, alright? Okay then, with that in mind, I'll end my first turn. Now, when it comes to fast expanding, yes, you do need to fast expand as the ally. That is, hold on a second. Let's have my hero explore in this direction more or less, so I see if this is truly the best position where I can expand to. So you do need to fast expand, generally speaking, as the ally, because of how little growth you have. Ooh, that's really nice. You cannot expand, it is okay if you expand a little bit slower than usual. For example, if you have a settler by 10-10, that is still acceptable. As other factions, it wouldn't be. As the ally, it's okay to have him as late as 10-10, and it theoretically allows you to get the better empire plan. It doesn't really matter on the first, or in the very first empire plan, in my opinion, doesn't matter all that much, but it does allow you to get one, I suppose. You can, however, get your settler as quickly as by 10-5. I've done it twice already. No, thrice. So yeah, 3 times, so yes, I have played a lot of games as the ally, but that's still a pretty good amount of times I was able to do it, so obviously you are capable of getting your second settler by 10-5, which is really, really nice. Okay, so having a look at this region, I can either settle on this tile, which, when it comes to food growth, I mean, that's pretty amazing, I would admit that freely. I'll be able to grow food without actually working food, which is really nice and tempting, but only 5 industry, that hurts. But then again, you also have 9 science and 10 happiness. Now, the extra science that you get will allow you to get some very, very much needed tax. On the other hand, I can sit over here. In here, I can get population growth in 2 turns, because I have 13 food, so by itself the food would not be enough, and I would get 12 because I settled my city. Now the problem is 13 industry, that's not quite enough to actually get Founders Memorial quick enough. But if I put my hero in this city right here, then I'll still gain the bonus food because he'll give me +2 food, pumping me up to 15 food, which will be enough for 2 population growth in 2 turns, and I will be able to get Founders Memorial quickly by working industry. So I want to settle here rather than here. Yes, I get far less science, and this will be a problem for me. But because of the standing science, I'll also be happy, which will slightly increase my industry gain as well. So, Yeah, I like this better just because I can use my hero to overcome the slight food deficit. Because despite the happiness, I still would grow food in 3 turns. Put in my hero. Did I move with him yet? I did. Alright. So put in my hero. Like this. Bam, nice and easy. And now I can grow my population in just 2 turns. While also working in industry. So I can get Founders Memorial in 2 turns, which is very important because I have little science. I'm getting 3 per turn because I would gain that amount regardless. Happy in this case doesn't give me quite enough. So when it comes to research, actually, let's first of all continue exploring a little bit. Those guys, I probably want to scout out the rest of this region, but it looks like, unfortunately, the region I settled in only has 1 manufacturing village. For the first city you have, it's okay. It happens more often than not, unfortunately. It's just when you settle in next cities, that's when you really have to make sure that you settle in regions that have more population. Your first city almost never is your main city. It's usually a throwaway city that is just supposed to be good at producing settlers. That's all that your first city is supposed to do as the ally. If it can do more, that's great, but don't count on it, right? Alright then, let's keep exploring, seeing what I can see. And that's actually a pretty good region that is bothering me. It also seems to be pretty small. It looks like I'm randoming very small regions so far. But that's okay. So, when it comes to science, what are my priorities? What do I want? Do I go for the Holy Trinity? When I can, that's so nice, but usually I can't, and there's something that's very important for me. So, first things first. In this instance, I have very little science gain, but I do actually have fairly okay industry gain. It's not amazing though. So what I'm thinking is I could go for Mill Foundry first. And I will go for Mill Foundry first. However, in many other situations, I would actually go for not Mill Foundry first, but Sewer System first. Because when I settle my second city, I should, in this very stat I got just now, be able to settle my second city very quickly. And I cannot afford to have my entire empire in unhappy approval. Because this will nuke my science production even further, and thus it will put me too far behind. However, in this instance, I can allow myself to do it the other way around by focusing on getting Mill Foundry first. Because there is a luxury resource next to me. So in a moment's notice, I will get my first skiffin, and I'll be able to actually give myself extra happiness if necessary. And also, I do not have that amazing amount of industry in this area regardless, so it's a little bit more risky as well. So let's end this turn, nice and easy. And as you can see, the first quest gives you the skiffin, so you need to go and do it as quickly as possible. It's right there over there. I'm gonna make a beeline for it. It's gonna take me 3 turns regardless, so I can explore a little bit. So let's have a quick look at what is inside those ruins. Now, ruins are very important for you to discover as the ally because they also give you pearls, but it is something I'll more expensively cover in a full-on playthrough for the ally. Right now, I'll focus just on the very first few turns. Looking at the region, looking for a region where I can expand to. Next time I have a chance to do so. I'm not saying anything too amazing, I have to be entirely honest with you. Like this region, it would be pretty decent with the approval it gives me, but it has no manufactions, it has no resources I can harvest for it either. So I'm not too convinced about it. I can settle here without nuking my disapproval, but I would rather get something that actually gives me a good city. Without any other options, it's not a bad region. I mean, approval, decent efficiency looks like, good science as well. Yeah, it's not bad. It's not very good either. Now let's end my turn. Mill Foundry gonna be done in 3 turns, which is acceptable. It's not as bad as I feared. Sometimes you can get even worse science stats as the ally. I don't know why. Maybe it's because I prioritize settling on food and industry tiles. And sometimes that means that you will just get less science, obviously. Now, the interesting thing is, usually this is the point where I would go to my military screen and give my security extra movement point, right? Except you are the ally. You, along with the roving clans, have the best settlers in the game in the fact that they natively have 6 speed. It's incredibly good, and it means that you do not need any extra speed on them whatsoever. You can outrun almost anyone regardless, and you can colonize new regions extremely quickly as well. There's just no need to give them any more speed than that. 5 is already really good. 6, that's just an overkill, really. Now you do need that speed because of how picky you need to be with your extra regions, but it's still acceptable, I would say. Alright then, let's work on the settler. I'll get him in 3 turns, so 10-7, I'll have a settler. Considering that I'll only have 1 structure by that point, it's not ideal, but we are ally. Things like that are to be expected, unfortunately. So, did I move with everybody? No, I did not, because I'm apparently really bad at moving. So let's get to it. Come on, move faster. I've got a video to record and upload. So let's set it to ruins again for some extra pals and glass steel in this case, which is always useful, mind you. Especially now, there's one thing that you really need to look out for if you can. Now keep in mind, I just told you that the skiffin that you will get for free very early on can harvest resources, right? Do you know what it's very useful for? This thing. You really want to get Museum of Riga. Now it's not a life or death situation. You can easily win a game without it. I have done so, but if you get it, it just makes the game so much more so much easier. Especially you can erect it in a region. For example, let's say that in your starting city, you are capable of staying above on the decent approval level, but only because you have skiffins in a region, right? Which you don't necessarily want to, because maybe you want those skiffins to scout around because of how good of a scout they are. So that thing, I mean, it allows you to get the extra happiness in the early game, which is very important. And later on, as the game progresses, you have an insane amount of approval because of this thing. Luxury Alchemists are a very powerful tech, I would say. So later on, the added bonus will kick in, and this will give you just so much dust and science. It's pretty good. You want Museum of Riga, so you'd be on the lookout for any town that gives you glass steel and titanium, so that you can possibly gather it by the use of your skiffin. Alrighty then, let's go ahead and have a look. See, there we go, my skiffin is here. There is the cute little bastard, and there's the aspirate ability. I can put him over here and give myself the instant bonus 10 approval, which I will not do, because right now this skiffin is supposed to be going places. It's an extremely fast unit. Where is he going? I didn't give him the order to go anywhere there. Strange. So he's an extremely fast unit, he's an amazing scout, and he also has the ability of Auriga Affinity 2, which allows him to gain more pals than any other unit in the game from any time it collects pals. And because we're ally, we also gain pals from ruins, so you want this skiffin to explore ruins. In this case, it only gave us 1 pal because the game is a bastard. And in this game it gave us 2 because RNG just want to prove me wrong, but believe me, this guy gets more pals than anybody else. You can, technically speaking, get equipment or hero skills that give you even more pals than that, but it's hard and generally speaking not worth it in my opinion. So let's keep on looking around for a place where I could possibly settle. Oh, the Hurnes. Now, I will not talk too much about manufacturing villages, because I want you to come back and watch my playthrough later on. Yes, I'm a scumbag like this, I suppose. But let's just say Hurnes are very, very good for you. And that's all I'm gonna say about it right now, because again, I'm a bastard. Now, I could buy out the cellar, which is a tempting feature, but I want to save my dust, because later on I want to either buy out the mill foundry or the sewer system in one of my cities in order to allow them to actually grow a little bit faster. Keep in mind, the very beginning of the game is very crucial for the ally. Once you get going, you are very, very competitive, but before that happens, your economy struggles, to say the least. So you need to be absolutely perfect in the way that you spend your resources. So in this case, I'll keep the dust I have. Thank you very much, and try to walk around with that. Alrighty, let's explore the ruins some more. Nice and easy, found the titanium, but because we are not going to continue this game and I'll not continue playing it, I'll continue exploring, I'll continue searching around the place for another place where I could potentially settle, maybe talk about something else. In a playthrough, however, I would start gathering titanium right now. I can do it, I could start gathering it this turn, it's very nice, and I could get the Museum of Riga nice and early. But again, I want to scout around, because this video is almost entirely about city placement, so that's the most important thing of all. Alrighty then, Yudio says, I would probably scout around a little bit more to see what is inside this region. It seems like a pretty good region with a lot of things that you can aspirate, but Fitz-wise it's pretty poor actually. And then I would probably start moving my unit back. Now this settler, he's doing pretty well for himself. I think I can move some of the population into south production quite easily without any repercussion, and this will allow me to save a turn on the production of sewer system, which is quite important indeed. I can already make the auto of Riga, which is important. Now the auto of Riga, you do not need to rush. You have time, you won't be able to do pretty much almost anything with it until the second winter. So before the first winter, it's kind of pointless to rush it. You will need to get it, and the faster the better, but you don't need to be too paranoid about getting it. So no worries about that. You just keep walking along, exploring ruins and the like. Go on, explore spices now. This is very nice. Now, because of how much movement your units have, more often than not you end up in a situation when you actually get large resources, perhaps even before settling. So do keep in mind to remind yourself to actually activate them, because in this case spices, they are godlike for you. They fix the two great problems that you have very easily and very nicely. So yeah, do try to remember to activate them. I may or may not always forget because my memory is sometimes horrible. So let's wait one more time, get my settler. And I'll probably tell you where I would expand and end this video. I mean, not end this video, end this world generation and generate a new one instead. So looking at things as they are right now, I don't need to settle here for the titanium. Keep in mind, I can use a skiff and just fine. But my settling city, it has pretty good efficiency. It can pump out more settlers pretty fast, I would say, I would assume, and expand more cities in the future. So now I need to just be very picky about locations where I want to settle. Unfortunately, this world generation has been pretty bastardly in the sense that there are like no manufacturing villages anywhere. Almost every region, in fact every region I have discovered only has one manufacturing everywhere. This region has two, that's the only exception, which is quite frankly ridiculous. So I could go to Jewel. It has pretty poor efficiency, but it does have an anomaly which would somewhat remedy this. It has two manufacturing villages as well, and they are boss. Boss are really good for you as well. They give you food after all. As a unit, they are not useful for you whatsoever, but the food is very important. So I'll consider selling here. Also, it has a river town as well, so it's not a bad location. I would also consider, let's think about it, because I really don't want to settle there because the efficiency it's just so poor. And it will take me a little while to get there as well. Alternatively, I could settle somewhere closer, like this location with the Certain village. It does have the dragon tree, which is very nice. It also has very good efficiency, but it only has one village. And on the basis of it, this place having one village, I will not settle this. I already have one city that's amazing for efficiency on its own generation. I now need cities that are good in some other things. Also, I'm starting with very little science. This region, have a look-see. It gives me plenty of science, especially once I get geomic labs. Actually, that's not a great amount, but I can increase it even further. Again, with geomic labs, it's a decent system, not system. It's a decent region. Then again, this actually gives me even more science. Holy balls! It's so tempting to settle here. And sometimes you have those situations when you are not sure where to settle. Like this is actually in this case. Because of how close it is, can I get there in 110? Not really, I can get in 2. And this region doesn't actually have any resources that I could mine. This region does have one, but it doesn't have anomaly that gives me approval. So I will need to pack a skiff in there to give myself happiness. And here I don't need to do that. I cannot elevate my approval any further than that, because my skiff wouldn't be able to do anything in here. But I would still settle in this location. It's really good efficiency-wise. It gives you the approval that you will need for when you settle your third city. It's only one manufacturing village, but I do not see any other region with manufacturers for whatever reason. This map generation is awful for me in this sense. So yeah, that's where I would go. So with that in mind, let's go ahead and go to our next map generation. Alright, new world generation. This one seems to be pretty bad as well, since it's another cold region. And spoiler alert, as the ally you'll get cold regions a lot. It's not exclusively what is going to always happen to you, but more often than not you spawn in cold regions because that's your starting bias. Let's explore the ruins real quick, give myself some extra stuff. So, first things first, this region at the very least it does have spices and it looks like it also has titanium. So if I cannot settle anywhere else, I can use a skiffin to give myself approval in here. But with that said, it's pretty rubbish. So I want to get out of here. I want to explore what else awaits me in other regions. So let's very quickly go ahead and explore around, shall we? It sounds a little bit difficult for me to tell the difference between a Seeker and a Celeb because they're both named in a similar way. Now this is a problem. This region is really long. It just doesn't end. So getting to another region like this one, ooh, it's so luscious and green. It looks delicious, but I don't know what's in there. It's very far away. And potentially going all the way over there, that would take too long, even for my uber fast settlers. So I'm not sold on that. Maybe there is a region up north, but I think it's a dead end, it's a peninsula. It certainly is, so there's nothing there that I can do. So that's a horrible thing again. So yeah, sometimes you get really bad start. Like, I want to get out of here. It's a bad region, but I have nowhere else to go. Like, if I go to this region, yes, maybe it has more diverse villages, and that was okay. But to get to this place, actually it takes only 2 turns, but is it even worth it? Sure, those petals, they give me 10 apple, but food! Where's the food? Even if I use my hero to give me my food and population, keep in mind that will only work half as effectively. I'll only have 3 food production in this city. That's not good. I would pretty much never go and lose the game outright. Don't even think about going over there. So I need to settle here. This will be a problem because it will tie up one of my skiffins in this game in order to prevent the city from being happy. What I will need to do is settle my city around. Let's have a quick look-see. I need 10 and 10, that's pretty bad actually. 11 and 6, that's ugh. Yeah, pretty much everything in here is bad, but there's black F, so maybe I can at the very least get a decent amount of... No food at it. Oh, anywhere. Wait a second, is this stat really this bad? Yes, it is. I'm really unlucky right now. There's just one anomaly inside, which is good, but Fitzy output is bad. I refuse to believe it's as bad as it looks like, but it seems like it is. The best place where I could settle is either between the two, no, not anomalies, but resources, but that's not enough industry production, and not enough food production either. I mean, if I work my population and my hero, this will be enough food production. I mean, 9 plus 6, that's 50, yeah, okay, that will be good enough, but barely good enough, and that's almost, and I wouldn't be able to work my industry, so that's bad. In this place, yeah, I also would need to work my hero and my population in order to get population growth in 2 turns instead of 3. And I need to get that population growth into this instead of 3, but 10 industry, that's pretty horrible actually. Maybe here? No, this seems to be the best spot actually. So I would settle over here. Now, as I settle and create my second city, this city will tie up one of my skiffins, which means that before I settle my third city, I will need to create a second skiffin when I play this game, right? Because I need one skiffin to continuously give this city approval, as annoying as it is, and another skiffin to do this skiffin job, which is roam around, scour around the area, give me pearls and things along those lines. Now usually I get a second skiffin as quickly as possible regardless, because they're absolutely amazing units, even if a little bit pricey when it comes to pearl cost. But yeah, this is a really bad start. I believe starting over here is the best thing I could possibly make. I mean, I could maybe work on industry and let's have a quick look-see. Out of curiosity, attach a hero. Now that doesn't help at all. Attach a hero does absolutely nothing. Further, the memorial will be made in 3 turns regardless of what I do. I can probably buy it out next turn to save some time, but this will be my money gone as well. So it's just a horrible experience. I'm glad I will not have to play through this. But I would say that where I settled right now is probably the best. Because I don't see any other region anywhere in the vicinity that is good. Maybe I should have waited 1 turn and taken a gamble to explore this place. Maybe there is a better place. But this is more of a stable option. In a playthrough, maybe I would have taken gamble because I like gambling a little bit too much. So maybe I would do it. But yeah, let's go to a different location. This was a horrible example, but you can still make a game out of this, I believe. Maybe there's another region where you can expand to pretty well, and out of curiosity, I want to understand. Oh yeah, science, yes. In this case, Mill Foundry. So, wow, even my science is awful. Everything is awful, that's the worst. Holy balls. I haven't had this battle start in a long time. So, looking at this, yeah, if I have taken a gamble, it would not have helped at all. You know what, I think I would lose this game. Primarily down to RNG, because there are no good places to settle at all. Let's have a quick look, see if that is the case. And I hate when those things happen. Oh, no, this... Okay, this game could be won. By expanding to this location, there's a good amount of Fitzy, there is the tree, the world tree, there is the mutant marsh, good amount of Fitzy. Don't know about the manufacturing villages, but it looks to be a big region, so the likelihood of this region having more than one village is high. Yes, I think this game is still winnable, but very, very hard. Sometimes, unfortunately, you just get very poor stats. It's one of them. Let's move on. Alright, the next start, and it looks to be the opposite of what we got last time. This time it's like the world generation taking pity on us and being like, you know what, it's fine, you can have this thing. So In this instance, I'm more tempted to just move my settler and expand right away, because look at this FTSE output. 15 food, so I can grow population 2 times without working in it. 20 industry, so I can get PANCZASU more uber quickly without working on it. 10 science, 10 approval. It's... what else do you want? You would have to be mad, insane, or whatever to actually want something more, but let's have a quick look, see, regardless. We're starting with boss, again, not the worst thing either. So it's the complete opposite. And with this stat, I'm pretty sure I could wreck this game depending on what the regions around me are. But there's already wine deposits. Now, wine is extremely important for you, because there's only one difficult step to your faction quest. Most of your faction quest is extremely easy. There's only one difficulty spike, fairly early on as well, that you need to get through fairly easily, fairly quickly as well. It's a step, wow. It's a step that requires your entire empire to become fervent, which sometimes I even delay my expansion just to get this quest out of the way, because everything else afterwards in your quest line is extremely easy and also gives you, so usually pretty mediocre rewards, yes, but they are also good. They are not bad. They're just not great. They're useful and they're very easy to complete. So I do want to rush the fervent step of the quest as quickly as possible. So that's why wine is extremely important, and you want to start gathering as quickly as possible as well. So I'll probably not send a skiff in to mine it, because it's more important to scout around in the early game, but I would probably consider maybe selling next to it so I can use, what's it called? A luxury intensifier later on to give myself even more wine, which is a rather amazing thing. But let's just, for the sake of it, have a look at this. I mean, I haven't looked very well around, but I don't care. I can see that this is a godlike start, so let's have a look-see. And yeah, happy Father's Memorial in 2 times regardless of what they do. Population growth in 2 times regardless of what they do. Research. Let's say I want for, in this case, I probably could even afford going for language square, because I get it in 1 turn so I can start talking to people. Yeah, this is... I wish I could continue this run. It's stupidly overpowered. I would win this game no matter what, I'm pretty sure. Especially since the one that especially because of the one that is near me as well. This looks like an amazing run. I wish I could play it. Let's move on, however. I'm more interested in interesting things, not almost guaranteed victories. Okay, and this is a stat that I actually saved before making this video, because I thought that it makes a very interesting point. Without looking around for potentially better regions, assuming there are no better regions around us, alright? Assuming. You could still expand and you could still settle over here. Actually, even not assuming. Even assuming that there is a decent spot near you, but not close enough to get to it when like 110. And it looks like this is the case. Like, this region seems to be pretty okay. There's one in this region as well. Again, that's pretty good, but I don't have any concrete info, any evidence. Moving on with my hero as well. Let's have a quick look, see, search the ruins, explore some more. Oh, that's actually pretty nice. But there's Mitochondria, which already says the same population as life tree. So this region, when it comes to pure FTSE output, it's all amazing. Like 7 food, 8 industry, not good. 10 science is beautiful, and 10 approval is also nice. It would help you quite a bit. But it's a thing to write home about when it comes to just pure FTSE output. You could also actually... I didn't even notice that anomaly. Holy balls, wait a second. Now this is way better. This actually makes this an amazing stat again, and kind of ruins my point. So let's assume there isn't this amazing anomaly over here, because right now I would sit over here and be very happy about this. I could still... Actually, it's not as incredibly amazing, because 10 industry and 12 food both are just slightly too small numbers to actually be very useful and meaningful to you. You would still need to use your population and whatnot, so yeah. But the thing about this stat is that I want to settle here regardless. It's not as godlike stat as the last one. Even without this anomaly, I would probably sit around in this place. And the reason being is that I have a place that I can use a skiffing on, and I have studying approval, so I am guaranteed that this city will grow nicely, and that I will be able to do good things with it. It will never be my best city, but then again, your setting city is almost never your best city, like I said. So this is... I wanted to showcase one of the examples again, which maybe not as amazing as the last time, but an example where you still don't want to wait with settlement until you go to another region. In this case, I haven't even fully explored all that much, but I still knew I didn't want to take a risk. I have a good place in here. There's plenty of things around me, and I can use intensifiers of various sorts later on in here as well. Now, the one problem is I'll need to trample one of those anomalies probably, But that's fine because you can only have one intensifier per city, so I would have one anomaly and one luxury intensifier in here, and that would still be fine. So yeah, that's a pretty good location. And this is pretty much everything I wanted to cover in this first turns guide. I hope you were enjoying it. I hope you maybe learned a little about how I like to settle as Allayi. Like I said, a full-on playthrough will follow at a date that will be announced in the future, I suppose. Keep in mind that I do have Twitter that I occasionally use, so I'll probably update you on that when I can. Before that happens, I will possibly post the Roving Clowns first turns guide. I'll first record the Allayi playthrough, of course, but because I want to record, because of the way I do things, it's possible that Roving Clowns first turns guide will be up first. And the reason why I'm going to go for Roving Clowns next in my first turns guide is because it won a poll on Twitter. Again, it's a thing you can follow. It's down in the description if you want to have a look at it. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. As always, our comments are deeply appreciated. I'll try to answer them whenever possible. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you online.